The planet Veyron once glowed like a jewel among the stars. Its cities were filled with shining towers, gardens that floated in the skies, and music that echoed in every marketplace. The Veyrons were a gentle people. They loved art more than war, peace more than conquest. For generations, they believed that beauty and wisdom were enough to keep the galaxy's cruelty away. But peace never lasts forever. From the dark edge of space, the core empire came. Their fleets cut through the night like blades. Their ships blotted out the stars, casting shadows across Veyron skies. At first, the Veyrons thought it was a mistake, perhaps a patrol passing through, perhaps diplomats arriving. But then the first city burned. Flames rose so high they could be seen from orbit. Families fled into the wilderness, clutching their children. The sound of collapsing towers drowned out the music that once filled the air. The core did not come to speak. They came to conquer. The Veyron defense fleet rose to meet them. Fragile ships, meant for exploration, not war, stood in formation. They fought with courage, but courage was not enough. In the first hour of battle, half the fleet was destroyed. By the end of the day, nothing remained but drifting wreckage and silence. On the ground, the council gathered in their broken hall. The once proud chamber now smelled of smoke and fear. Leaders who had once debated trade and poetry now whispered of survival. Their eyes were hollow, their voices trembling. "We cannot hold much longer," one said. "Our cities fall one by one. We are out of soldiers, out of weapons, out of hope." There was only one choice left, a desperate one. They sent a message into the void of space, carried by fragile signals, hoping someone, somewhere, would hear it. "Please," the message said, "this is Veyron. We are under attack. Our people are dying. If there is anyone who hears this, we beg you, help us." It was a voice filled with fear, but also with a faint spark of hope, a spark so small it could be crushed at any moment. Days passed. The message echoed into emptiness. No answer came. The Veyrons prayed. They prayed that perhaps a nearby world would hear them. Maybe a trading partner, maybe an ally. But in truth, the galaxy was cruel. Empires only helped when profit was promised. Neighbors closed their borders, too afraid to anger the core. "Perhaps no one will come," whispered one elder. Tears ran down his cheeks. "Perhaps we are alone." But somewhere in the darkness of space, the signal traveled farther than they imagined. Past merchant lanes, past borders of cautious empires, past systems that had long ago turned their eyes away from suffering. It reached a world many only spoke of in fearful whispers, a death world. The Veyrons had heard rumors of this place, a planet so dangerous that life itself clawed to survive each day, a world of storms, predators, fire, and ice. The beings who lived there were said to be hard as iron, forged by endless struggle. They were called many things, wild, reckless, unstable. But the word most often spoken was dangerous, and so the Veyron Council sat in silence, unaware that their cry for mercy had reached the ears of Deathworlders. They did not know if help would come. They did not know if they had spoken into the void in vain. Outside, the skies still burned. Children hid in caves, clutching their mothers. Soldiers who had never trained for war tried to hold the line with shaking hands. The core empire marched onward, confident that no one would challenge them, but far away engines stirred. A choice was made. The plea had been heard, and the answer was already on its way. Far beyond the burning skies of Veyron, the plea for help traveled silently through space. It crossed light years of darkness, drifting past icy moons and silent asteroids until it reached a blue and green world known simply as Earth. Earth was not a quiet planet. It had storms that could swallow cities, mountains that tore the clouds apart, and oceans that roared with power. Its people had endured centuries of struggle, wars that scarred continents and diseases that stole millions of lives. They had learned to survive when survival seemed impossible. When the transmission from Veyron reached them, Earth listened. Scientists and engineers gathered in dimly lit rooms, decoding the signal, their hearts tightening with every word. They could feel the fear, the hopelessness, the quiet desperation beneath the Veyron message. "This is real," one whispered. "They are begging for help. They are dying." Leaders argued. Some suggested sending supplies, some suggested a diplomatic envoy, and some argued that intervening in another species' war was too dangerous. But among them were those who remembered the lessons of their own history. They remembered times when mercy came too late. They remembered when the weak had no one to fight for them, and they decided they would not send diplomats. They would not send letters of peace. They would send something far stronger. At the edge of Earth's orbital shipyards, a massive vessel stirred to life. Its hull was black as midnight, lined with armor forged to withstand storms that could tear mountains apart. Its engines roared like a living beast. On the side of the ship, engraved and bold, was a single word: Revenant. The crew who prepared to board were no strangers to hardship. Every human aboard had faced death and come back stronger. Soldiers, engineers, pilots, and scientists, all were chosen for one reason: they could survive when most would fail. They understood fear, and they had learned to turn it into strength. As the ship lifted from Earth, it did so with quiet determination. There were no cheers, no songs. Only the weight of purpose filled the corridors. Every crew member knew the message of Veyron had reached them because the galaxy allowed injustice to fester. And now, they would act. "Remember why we go," the captain said, standing tall on the bridge. His voice was calm but firm. "We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. We do not ask for thanks. We do not ask for glory. We do what must be done." Outside, Earth faded behind them, replaced by the endless black of space. Stars streaked past as the Revenant jumped into hyperspace. Time was short. Every second Veyron remained under attack was a second too long. The humans had heard countless cries before, the worlds that had fallen silently, the races that had vanished without leaving a trace. But this plea was different. It carried hope. Fragile hope, yes, but still hope. And they would protect it no matter the cost. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the core empire continued its march. Their fleets were vast, their weapons devastating. They believed no one could challenge them, that mercy had no place in the cosmos. The humans were not yet on their radar. They were not yet seen as a threat. But the Deathworlders were coming, and the core would soon learn a truth they had never faced before. The beings who had survived death itself did not cower before empires. They did not plead for peace. They struck, and when they did, the galaxy would remember. Inside the Revenant, the crew moved like a single organism. Engineers checked every system, weapons officers calibrated every cannon, and pilots studied the approaching sectors of space. There was no fear, only focus. There was no hesitation, only resolve. The Veyrons could not know what was coming. They could not see the storm that approached at impossible speed. But in the hearts of the humans aboard the Revenant, there was certainty. They would not fail. The first whispers of Earth's Deathworlders had begun. The galaxy's quiet was about to break. And for Veyron, salvation was no longer a dream. It was a ship racing through the Vohai above the burning world of Veyron. The Corps commander lounged in his throne room aboard the massive flagship, Terror's Claw. The room hummed with power. Lights glowed red and green across walls lined with weapons controls. Holoscreens displayed the chaos below. Cities aflame, streets in ruin, people fleeing in terror. The Corps commander leaned back, his eyes cold and cruel. For decades, his fleets had crushed entire planets without hesitation. He had never faced fear like this because fear had always belonged to others. To him, the Veyrons were nothing, fragile creatures whose screams were just background noise to their conquest. "Excellent," he said, voice low and harsh. "Another world falls. Soon the core empire will stretch across this sector completely. No one can stop us." His officers nodded, each eager to claim glory. They had grown arrogant, their confidence built on countless victories. Their fleets were strong, their weapons unmatched. They believed the galaxy itself bowed before them. Then a flicker appeared on the main holoscreen. A single ship, distant but moving fast. Its signature was unlike anything they had seen. The Corps officers leaned forward, curious, then laughed. One ship? Only one? One officer scoffed. Do you think it can challenge us? The commander's grin widened. No. It is a fly buzzing near the lion. We will crush it before it reaches Veyrin. Prepare the weapons, let it die. Orders rang through the flagship. Dozens of Corps warships adjusted their courses, aligning to intercept. Missiles locked on, energy beams charged, and communication channels buzzed with calculated precision. The Corps felt unstoppable, as though no power in the galaxy could resist them. Meanwhile, the lone human ship, Earth's Deathworlders, moved steadily through space, engines blazing, shields glowing like a living heartbeat. Sensors on the Terror's Claw tried to track it, but the readings were strange, erratic. It did not behave like other ships. Its movements were deliberate, yet impossible to predict. Commander, one Corps officer said, voice tight. It is strange. Its speed, its energy signature, it is unusual. The commander waved him off. It matters not. One ship cannot see. Top us. Our empire has crushed hundreds before. This one will be no different. Fire everything. But the humans did not panic. On the bridge of the Revenant, the captain stood calm, eyes scanning the approaching enemy. Every crew member moved, in silent synchronization, knowing their mission, knowing the stakes. They were not here to negotiate, they were here to fight. Target the lead cruiser, the captain said softly. Make it count. Outside, the void became a theater of tension. The Corps fleet, confident and cruel, waited to annihilate what they saw as a mere annoyance. The human ship, small but formidable, approached without fear. It was a predator in silence, a storm wrapped in steel and fire. The Veyrins, still below on their ruined planet, gazed at the sky. Through smoke and ash, they could barely make out the tiny spark that was the Revenant. They whispered prayers, unsure if it was hope or illusion. Back on the Terror's Claw, the commander smiled cruelly. Let them come, let them try. They will burn. Nothing stops the Corps empire. But deep down, a flicker of unease crossed his mind. Something about this ship was different. Its silence was not cowardice. Its speed was not desperation. It moved with purpose, and for the first time the commander wondered, just for a moment, if he had underestimated the storm approaching. The Corps did not know the humans' history. They did not know the horrors they had survived, the worlds they had defended, or the fury they carried in their hearts. They only knew what they saw. One ship against many, a fragile spark against a galaxy of fire. But some sparks, when lit, can burn brighter than any star. The stage was set. The humans were coming. The Corps believed they were in control. And the first battle for Veyrin, though unseen by its people, was about to begin. The skies above Veyrin were dark with smoke and ash. Cities lay in ruins. Fires painted the horizon in shades of red and orange, and the cries of the innocent drifted into the night. The Veyrins huddled in the shadows, fearful and broken, believing that no help would come. Then, like a silent promise, a new light appeared on the horizon. A single ship, unlike anything they had ever seen, sliced through the darkness of space. Its hull gleamed black with streaks of silver, and strange glowing lights traced along its frame. The ship moved with purpose, swift and unyielding, heading straight toward the heart of the burning world. On the ground, the Veyrins stared. Many could hardly believe their eyes. Some whispered prayers while others dared to hope. Children clung to their parents, gazing upward at the impossible sight. One elder shook his head, tears streaming down his face. Could it be real? Could someone truly come for us? The human ship, the Revenant, entered Veyrin's orbit without hesitation. It did not shy from the fires of war. It did not falter before the Corps fleet that now took notice of its presence. Sensors on the core ships flared, weapons systems locked on, and alarms screamed throughout their armada. The Corps commander, sitting on his throne aboard the Terror's Claw, laughed at first. "Just one ship. You dare enter my skies?" He raised a clawed hand and gestured for his fleet to attack. "Destroy it." Missiles streaked from the core ships, energy beams lanced toward the Revenant, and the first shots of battle filled the void. The Vayrines watched from below, expecting the human ship to crumble in seconds. Fear tightened in their throats, but still they hoped. The Revenant did not falter. Its shields flared as enemy fire struck, sparks dancing across the hull. But it moved like a storm, weaving through the assault with uncanny precision. Its weapon systems came alive, humming with power. The first human salvo hit a core cruiser, tearing through its shields and cracking the armor. The explosion lit up the void like a second sun, and the remaining core ships faltered. Inside the ship, the human crew worked in perfect synchrony. Pilots whispered coordinates, engineers recalibrated, energy cannons and weapons officers fired with deadly accuracy. Every action was deliberate. Every shot meant to protect the weak. There was no hesitation. There was no mercy for the oppressors. The core fleet had never encountered resistance like this. They were used to fear. They were used to surrender. But the humans brought something new. Fury wrapped in steel, unyielding and precise. The Corps commander's grin faltered for the first time. What are these creatures?" he muttered. From the ground, the Vayrins could see the battle unfolding above them. It was a sight they could barely comprehend. One ship moving, like a phantom striking fear into the heart of an entire empire. Their hope, long buried under rubble and smoke, began to grow. A young girl clutched her brother's hand tightly. "They came. They really came," she whispered. Tears ran down her cheeks, mixing with the soot and ash. For the first time in days, the people of Veyrin dared to believe. The Revenant spoke across the void, its voice calm but powerful, carrying through all channels. "To the core fleet," it said, "you prey on the weak. That ends today. Leave this planet or be destroyed." The Vayrins gasped. This was no simple warning. It was a promise, and the humans meant it. For the first time since the core invasion, the Vayrins felt something they had not known in days: safety. Not complete safety, perhaps, but a chance to survive. And the humans, these Deathworlders from a distant star, had brought it to them. The stage was set. The battle for Veyrin had begun, but the humans had not come to beg. They had come to fight, and fight they would. The void above Veyrin erupted in chaos. The core fleet, vast and confident, unleashed everything they had. Missiles streaked across, the stars like deadly comets. Energy beams tore through the blackness, leaving trails of fire and sparks. The Vayrins, watching from below, could hardly bear to see the destruction. They thought this would be the end, that the humans would be crushed in moments. But the Revenant moved like a storm, swift and unrelenting. Its shields flared, taking hit after hit, yet never breaking. Its hull, reinforced by battles that no other species could survive, deflected the onslaught. Weapon systems powered up, and in a heartbeat, the humans struck back. The first core cruiser exploded in a blinding flash, torn apart by precise energy strikes. Shrapnel rained into space, and nearby enemy ships faltered, their formations breaking. Then another, and another, until the fleet began to scatter. Inside the Revenant, the crew moved like one being. Pilots dodged incoming fire, weaving through the deadly corridors of space. Engineers shouted coordinates, recalibrating weapons with surgical precision. Weapons officers fired relentlessly, each shot calculated to cripple enemy ships without wasting energy. A young pilot, barely out of training, gripped the controls tightly. Sweat ran down her face, but her eyes burned with determination. "I won't let them hit Veyrin," she whispered to herself. "Not today. Not ever." The Corps commander's arrogance began to crumble. His fleet, once confident, now faltered, under the onslaught. He barked orders, but confusion spread like wildfire. Focus. Destroy it. Do not let a single ship survive. But the humans had already learned to thrive in impossible odds. They were trained to fight when hope seemed gone, to survive when the galaxy itself tried to crush them. Every movement was precise. Every attack was deadly. Every human aboard the Revenant fought not for glory, but for lives that could not fight for themselves. Below, the Vayrines watched in awe. For the first time in days, hope filled their hearts. Flames still consumed their cities, smoke still filled the sky, but a spark had appeared, a spark that grew brighter with each strike. They whispered prayers, some in fear, some in joy, for these strangers who had come to fight for them. The battle raged on. Core ships tried to regroup, but the humans anticipated every maneuver. Explosions lit the stars like fireworks, and the core fleet began to retreat, unable to match the relentless fury of a single human vessel. The Revenant took hits, too. Sections of the hull smoked, alarms screamed, and fire crept along internal corridors. But the crew refused to yield. Every injury, every scar, every burned circuit was a reminder of why they fought: to protect the innocent, to strike back against cruelty, to show the galaxy that the weak were not alone. A Veyrin child, hiding in the rubble of her home, watched the battle. Her eyes widened as she saw ships fall, not just the core ships, but the impossibly strong human ship still moving forward. They are saving us," she whispered, clutching her small brother tightly. And they were. The first wave of core ships had been destroyed. Their flagship, the Terror's Claw, burned in space, battered and crippled. The remaining fleet scattered into the void, their arrogance replaced with fear. They had never faced an enemy like this. They had never seen mercy delivered in the form of overwhelming power. As silence slowly returned to the skies above Vayrine, the humans remained vigilant. They had fought not for glory but for survival, not for revenge but for justice. And the Vayrins, for the first time in days, dared to dream that their world might live. The battle had not ended yet, but one truth was clear: the Deathworlders had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The sky over Vayrine was quiet now, but the silence was heavy with smoke and ruin. Fires still burned in the cities below, and the cries of the wounded echoed faintly through the rubble. The battle was over, but the cost had been great. The Revenant floated among the stars, battered but unbowed. Its hull was scarred with burns and dents. An alarm still wailed in the corridors. Inside, the human crew moved with weary determination. Some were injured, bleeding from burns or shrapnel. Some had lost friends and comrades in the fight. Yet no one wavered. Every surviving human carried the weight of their mission, and every action was a promise kept. They had defended the weak, no matter the cost. The captain walked slowly along the bridge, checking on his crew. Each station was a testament to human resilience. Engineers soothed broken circuits back to life. Pilots stretched their stiff muscles, eyes bright despite exhaustion. Weapons officers cleaned their guns, silent but proud. The ship itself seemed to breathe, tired but alive, a vessel forged for impossible survival. On the ground, the Vayrines emerged from hiding. They had survived the worst, and now they saw the full cost of the humans' intervention. Their cities were in ruins, and yet the core ships were gone. Their people were alive, and hope had returned. Children hugged parents tightly, tears streaking faces blackened with ash. "They came for us," one elder whispered. "They truly came for us." But the Vayrins could also see the cost. Smoke rose from the wrecked sections of the Revenant, and emergency teams prepared to rescue those still trapped inside. Some humans would not survive. Some would never see home again. Their bravery had saved an entire world, but it had come at a price that weighed heavily on everyone who witnessed it. The captain addressed his crew, his voice calm but filled with quiet emotion. "We have done what we promised," he said. "Vayrine lives because of our choice to act. Some of us will not see tomorrow, but every life we saved is proof that what we do matters. We fight not for ourselves, but for others. That is our strength. A young Varen woman approached the ship, stepping carefully through the rubble. She looked at the humans, awe in her eyes. "You came for us," she said softly. "You risked everything, for people you don't even know." Her voice shook. "Why?" The captain looked at her, his expression serious yet gentle. "Because no one should face death alone," he said. "Because we remember what it is like to be weak, to be helpless. And we swore we would never stand by while the innocent suffered." The Varens could not fully comprehend the truth of these words. They had lived in a galaxy where power meant survival, and yet these humans had shown them a different kind of strength. It was not fear, nor control, nor conquest. It was compassion, forged in steel, a fury that protected rather than destroyed. Elsewhere on Vayreen, the core who had survived fled into the void. Their arrogance had been shattered, their fleet broken. For the first time, they knew the cost of underestimating a force that fought not for empire, but for justice. Word of this encounter would spread through the galaxy, a warning whispered in fear. The humans had arrived, and they did not bow to tyrants. The Revenant began repairs, its crew working silently side by side. They were tired, broken, and scarred, but their resolve remained unshaken. They had delivered hope to a dying world, and that victory, even at great cost, was enough to carry them forward. On the ground, Varen's people slowly began to rebuild. Streets once filled with smoke and fear now echoed with cautious laughter and whispered prayers of gratitude. The humans had given them life, and with that gift came a new understanding. Even in the darkest times, courage and selflessness could change the fate of worlds. And the humans? They would move on, carrying the memory of those lost and the knowledge that they had made a difference. For them, the battle was not about glory, not about reward. It was about standing for what was right, no matter the price. The galaxy had witnessed the cost of defiance. It had also seen the birth of legends. The skies above Varen were calm now, though the scars of battle were everywhere. Smoke still rose from ruined cities, and the ground was littered with the remnants of the core invasion. Yet for the first time in weeks, a quiet hope filled the air. The people of Varen were alive. Their world, though battered, had been spared. The human crew of the Revenant worked tirelessly. Some repaired the ship, some tended to the injured, and some simply stood quietly, reflecting on what had been lost and what had been saved. Many of their comrades had not survived the battle. Each empty seat on the bridge, each silent voice among the crew, was a reminder of the cost of defending the helpless. The Varens approached cautiously, awe and gratitude written on their faces. They had witnessed power unlike anything they had ever imagined. The humans had come not as conquerors, not as diplomats, but as protectors. Their actions had rewritten the story of the day. One elder stepped forward, voice trembling. "You came for us," he said softly. "You fought for us when no one else would. You risked your lives, and still you did not hesitate. Why?" The captain looked at him, eyes steady and honest. "Because someone had to," he said. "Because we remember what it is like to be helpless. And because we believe that strength is not just power, it is responsibility. We do not fight to conquer. We fight to protect, to defend, to give hope to those who cannot fight for themselves." The Varens bowed their heads, tears streaming down their faces. They had begged for help and had expected perhaps mercy, maybe aid, maybe survival. But not this. Not fury forged in steel, precision born of hardship, and courage stronger than any empire. These humans had shown them something the galaxy rarely remembered: that the weak could be defended, that hope could be delivered with fire and resolve. Across the stars, the core survivors fled, their empire shaken to its core. They had underestimated a species they called fragile, a species they believed would bend to fear. And now, whispers of the humans' arrival spread from system to system. Tales of a single ship that destroyed a fleet, of Deathworlders who fought not for glory but for justice, traveled faster than any warship could fly. On Vayreen, children ran through the streets cautiously, laughter returning to ears that had known only fear. Families rebuilt slowly, Knowing the scars would remain, but so would the memory of those who had saved them. The humans had left a mark not just on the planet, but on the hearts of its people, a promise that even in the darkest hours, someone might stand for the innocent. The captain of the Revenant watched the world below from orbit. His crew, tired and scarred, stood at attention. They had done what they set out to do. They had faced impossible odds, survived storms no one else could, and defended a civilization that had never asked for vengeance, only survival. And now, the galaxy would remember. A young Varen girl holding her brother's hand looked up at the Revenant and whispered, "Will they come back?" The elder beside her smiled gently. "Perhaps," he said. "But even if they do not, they have shown us that strength is not just about fighting. It is about standing for what is right, even when the world seems against you." The humans prepared to leave, the Revenant's engines roaring quietly as it began its journey back into the void. Some ships would rise, empires would fall, and new battles would come. But the legacy of this day, the courage, the selflessness, the indomitable spirit of humanity, would echo through the stars for generations. As the Revenant vanished into the darkness of space, the people of Vayreen looked up, hearts lifted, hope renewed. They had survived. They had been defended by beings who came from a death world, who had faced danger and emerged unbroken, who had reminded the galaxy that true strength lies in protecting the weak. And somewhere in the black expanse of space, humanity moved on, silent, steadfast, unyielding, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. The legend of the humans had begun,